Life begins when you find yourself. The disconnect. Imagine waking up one day to a quiet, persistent, dawning realization that the life you've been meticulously constructing isn't truly your own. Every decision you've made, every deeply held belief, and even the subtle desires that whisper within you may not have emerged from the most bottomless wellspring of who you authentically are. Instead, they could be echoes of societal expectations, ingrained conditioning, or the countless unseen influences of the world around you. How much of your identity, when genuinely examined, is a true reflection of your authentic self, and how much is a carefully crafted mask, painstakingly shaped by external pressures? The scripted life. How often do you find yourself feeling like an actor perpetually playing a role, living according to a script not written by you, but by the dictates of society, the patterns of your upbringing, or the insidious fears that murmur in the background of your mind? There's a profound sense of living a life that feels borrowed rather than truly lived. This pervasive feeling of simply playing a role can leave us constantly seeking something more, something deeper, something that resonates with an unacknowledged truth within. The unveiling. Today, we embark on an enlightening exploration of one of Carl Jung's most profound and revolutionary insights, the radical idea that life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself. But what does this mean? Is it merely about achieving superficial self-awareness? Or is there a much deeper, transformative process at work, one that promises not just understanding, but liberation? Stay with me, because as we carefully uncover the hidden forces that have shaped and, in many ways, constrained your identity, you will understand why the vast majority of people never truly find themselves. More importantly, you will discover a clear, actionable path to break free from these unseen chains. The final realization we will discuss is, without exaggeration, the most powerful of all. It has the potential to fundamentally change not only how you perceive yourself, but also how you engage with and experience the world around you. Number 1. The illusion of the constructed self. Carl Jung, a true pioneer of depth psychology, was a brilliant thinker who boldly ventured beyond conventional theories of the mind, daring to explore the vast, often unsettling hidden realms of the unconscious. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Jung didn't believe that mental well-being was simply about adjusting to societal norms or fitting neatly into predefined molds. Instead, he viewed psychological growth as a courageous journey toward individuation, the complex, lifelong process of becoming one's most complete, integrated, and authentic self. However, a stark and often overlooked reality exists. Most people, unfortunately, never truly embark on this profound journey. They remain perpetually trapped within a fragmented version of themselves, a self meticulously shaped by external influences and the constant hum of societal expectations. They live their lives according to unwritten rules, rarely questioning whether the path they tread genuinely aligns with their deepest desires and inherent truth. They relentlessly seek validation from the external world, mistakenly believing that true happiness, contentment, and a sense of belonging stem solely from external approval, conventional success, or the elusive goal of fitting in. Yet deep down, beneath the layers of conformity and striving, there often resides a quiet, persistent unrest, an unshakable, almost melancholic feeling that something fundamental is missing. Jung profoundly believed that true life, a life vibrant with meaning and purpose, begins when we cease running from ourselves and finally dare to confront our inner landscape. Number 2. The unveiling of the persona, the mask we wear. However, before we can fully understand what it truly means to find our authentic selves, we must first confront the pervasive forces that prevent most people from doing so. From the moment we take our first breath and enter the world, we are subjected to an unending, often inconspicuous process of conditioning. We are immediately assigned names, given preconceived identities, and placed into predefined roles. We are carefully taught what is considered acceptable and what is not, which behaviors are rewarded with praise, and which are met with punishment or disapproval. This pervasive process is so subtle and gradual that, more often than not, we rarely pause to question its profound impact. We adapt, we conform, and over time, we learn to suppress and bury those very parts of ourselves that don't comfortably align with the expectations placed upon us. Think back for a moment to your childhood. Were there instances, perhaps fleeting or deeply impactful, when you expressed yourself with unbridled freedom, only to be met with a cold wave of disapproval? Maybe you were told to be realistic, to stop being so sensitive, or that certain powerful emotions or genuine desires were inappropriate or inconvenient. Gradually and insidiously, you began to internalize these messages, learning to hide those vibrant parts of yourself, meticulously tucking them away into a private, unseen corner where no one could truly perceive them. In doing so, you unwittingly began to construct what Jung famously termed the persona, the intricate, often beautiful, yet ultimately false face we present to the world. The persona serves a vital, almost utilitarian function. It enables us to navigate society's complexities, engage in relationships, and gain the often craved acceptance of others. However, therein lies the inherent problem, the profound paradox of the persona. The more we identify with this carefully constructed mask, the more we lose touch with our true, authentic selves. We begin, subtly but surely, to believe that we are the persona, completely forgetting that something infinitely deeper, or profound, and far more real is pulsating beneath its surface. Number 3. Confronting the shadow, the unseen depths. In contrast to the persona, there is the other side of the psychological coin, the shadow. While the persona represents what we carefully choose to show the world, the shadow embodies everything we desperately try to conceal from it, and often from ourselves. It includes all the aspects we have rejected or suppressed, our deepest fears, our unspoken desires, our most vulnerable abilities, and perhaps most surprisingly, even our hidden, untapped strengths. And here's where the profound truth of the shadow becomes even more startling. It doesn't simply disappear into oblivion. It doesn't conveniently vanish just because we adamantly refuse to acknowledge or look at it. Instead, it operates tirelessly beneath the surface of our conscious awareness, exerting a potent and often unseen influence over our thoughts, automatic behaviors, and even our most intense emotional reactions. The very parts of ourselves that we reject so vehemently do not simply fade away. They subtly yet powerfully manifest in unconscious ways, most frequently in the form of projection. Have you ever found yourself intensely disliking someone? Feeling an inexplicable aversion without fully understanding the underlying reason? Or perhaps you've been deeply triggered by specific behaviors in others' behaviors that provoke an extreme and immediate emotional response within you. Jung firmly believed that when we are profoundly disturbed or highly reactive to specific qualities we see in other people, it is often because those very qualities, those unacknowledged aspects, lie dormant and hidden within our own unexamined shadow. But what if I told you that within this very shadow, this realm of denied aspects, lies the undeniable key to true self-discovery? The parts of yourself that you have diligently suppressed and ignored are not your adversaries. They are the essential missing pieces of your innate wholeness. Jung's most revolutionary insight was this: psychological growth is not about futilely eliminating the shadow. It is about the courageous and transformative process of integrating it. It involves bravely looking into the depths of your unconscious, confronting what you have long denied, and reclaiming those disowned parts. When you engage in this profound internal work, you unlock an immense, almost inexhaustible source of personal power, unwavering authenticity, and profound inner freedom. This truly is where the real journey to self begins. Are you ready to confront the unvarnished truth of who you are? To courageously break free from the pervasive illusions that have subtly shaped you? What comes next will undoubtedly challenge everything you thought you knew about yourself, and it will undeniably open the door to a life that is truly, unequivocally yours. Number 4. Beyond the surface, the true self. Most people go through their entire lives under the comfortable yet limiting assumption that they have a complete understanding of who they are. They define themselves by easily identifiable markers: their name, their chosen profession, their cultural background, and their accumulated past experiences. Yet, what if I told you that your true identity is infinitely more complex and far more expansive than you realize? What if the self you currently perceive is merely a surface-level construct, a fleeting fraction of a much deeper, more profound, and limitless reality? Carl Jung passionately believed that within every individual lies a hidden, vast, and intricate inner landscape, a boundless realm filled with forgotten memories, suppressed emotions, unacknowledged desires, and an incredible reservoir of untapped potential. The actual key to genuinely finding yourself does not reside in the arduous task of constructing a completely new identity, but in the brave process of uncovering and excavating what has always been buried deep within you. Let's take a moment to reflect on this truly. Have you ever felt a deep, often unexplainable longing for something more in life? It's a persistent, almost spiritual sense that a greater, more vibrant version of yourself is patiently waiting to emerge. This isn't just a figment of your imagination. It is the compelling, undeniable voice of your unconscious mind, actively urging you toward something far greater than the limits you currently perceive. Jung referred to this encompassing process as individuation. He maintained a steadfast belief that true fulfillment and lasting contentment come not from rigidly conforming to external expectations, but from the dynamic, ongoing process of integrating all aspects of ourselves, the good and the bad, the light and the dark. However, a crucial prerequisite lies before us. Before we can effectively integrate these myriad parts, we must first confront them bravely. It is precisely at this point that most people, understandable as it may be, pause their journey. Why? Because facing oneself and truly looking inward is profoundly uncomfortable. It demands ruthless honesty, requiring us to unflinchingly examine aspects of our personality that we have often meticulously ignored for decades. It calls for us to courageously question long-held beliefs, challenge our most deeply ingrained fears, can confront the insidious inner conflicts that have often unknowingly shaped the very trajectory of our lives. Consider this. How often do we consciously avoid silence, that quiet introspection which compels us to sit alone with our thoughts? How frequently do we distract ourselves with an endless barrage of work, the enticing lure of social media, the escapism of entertainment, or absolutely anything that keeps us from simply being alone with our unfiltered thoughts? This constant, almost compulsive distraction is no coincidence. It serves as a sophisticated defense mechanism, subtle yet powerful means of artfully sidestepping the more profound and unsettling questions that constantly linger just beneath the surface of our awareness, yet no matter how much we strive to avoid them, these hidden, unacknowledged aspects of ourselves stubbornly refuse to disappear. They inevitably manifest in unexpected, often unwelcome ways, through persistent anxiety, subtle acts of self-sabotage, unfulfilling relationships that repeat familiar patterns, or a pervasive, unshakable feeling of being perpetually lost or adrift. Jung firmly believed that our unconscious mind is always communicating with us, constantly sending signals and messages. Still, we, through years of conditioning, have effectively learned to ignore these vital communications. However, if we begin to pay attention and truly listen to these subtle whispers, we start to discern profound patterns. we notice how our deepest unhealed wounds subtly influence our conscious choices, how our suppressed desires undeniably shape our daily behaviors, and how the very things we fear most often contain the greatest, most transformative lessons for our growth. Consider a simple yet compelling example: the pervasive fear of rejection. Many individuals navigate their entire lives terrified of being judged, criticized, or ultimately abandoned. They continuously seek external approval, meticulously avoid any form of conflict, and instinctively suppress their true thoughts and feelings in a desperate attempt to maintain an artificial sense of harmony. But where does this profound fear truly originate? Is it genuinely about the fleeting opinions of others? Or does it stem from something much deeper, more profoundly embedded in their past? Perhaps an old, unhealed wound, an impactful experience from childhood, or a pivotal moment when they felt profoundly unseen or utterly unworthy. Jung would argue convincingly that this fear is not merely a fleeting emotion. It is a significant shadow aspect of the self, an unacknowledged part that has not been fully confronted and integrated until it is bravely brought into the light of conscious awareness. It will relentlessly continue to control one's actions, motivations, and choices from behind the scenes, like an unseen puppet master. But here's the truly incredible, liberating truth: when we finally and courageously confront these hidden, often feared aspects of ourselves, they miraculously lose their suffocating grip on us. Imagine for a moment what it would genuinely feel like to live free from the crushing weight of the fear of judgment, to express your truth with unwavering clarity and conviction, without hesitation or self-doubt, to make choices not based on what others expect of you, but solely on what resonates deeply, profoundly, and authentically within your being. This precisely is the unparalleled power of individuation. It is not about transforming into an entirely new person. It is about becoming more of the magnificent, authentic being you truly are and were always meant to be. Number 5. Pathways to the unconscious and integration. But how exactly do we embark on this challenging yet fulfilling journey? How do we begin to uncover the unconscious forces that have, for so long, subtly influenced our lives? Jung firmly believed that one of the most powerful and accessible ways to tap into the vast reservoir of the unconscious is through the rich tapestry of symbols, the profound insights of dreams, and the transformative practice of introspection. He viewed dreams not as random neurological firings, but as profound coded messages from the deeper self, carefully revealing hidden truths about our complex psyche. He also emphasized the immense significance of creative expression through art, writing, music, dance, and other forms of uninhibited self-exploration as channels for accessing, understanding, and ultimately integrating the vast, often overwhelming contents of the unconscious mind. The single most important and foundational step on this journey is awareness. The moment you begin to consciously question your automatic thoughts, knee-jerk emotional reactions, and deeply held, often unquestioned beliefs, you take the courageous first steps toward profound transformation. When you stop running from the discomfort of self-examination and lean into it with genuine curiosity and an open mind, you embark on the meaningful process of reclaiming your true self. The unvarnished truth is that most people, tragically, live their entire lives as virtual strangers to themselves. They passively follow the well-worn paths laid out for them by others, never realizing that they possess the innate power and agency to choose a completely different, more authentic trajectory. They relentlessly suppress their true nature, never understanding that their greatest strength, their most profound power, lies not in conformity, but in bravely embracing all that they authentically are. But you, the listener, need not be one of those people. You have the innate power to break free from the intricate web of illusions that has held you captive for too long. You possess a profound capacity to shed the suffocating layers of conditioning and fear that have kept you from experiencing life in its glorious, unrestrained fullness. You can step boldly into the magnificent essence of who you truly are, uninhibited, unafraid, and utterly unapologetic. In the next part of our exploration, we will delve into something even more profound, even more ancient, the hidden archetypes that reside deep within your psyche. These ancient universal patterns, buried deep in the collective unconscious, hold the key to unlocking your most significant, unimaginable potential. What you are about to learn may, quite literally, change the way you see yourself forever. Number 6. Archetypes, the universal blueprints of the psyche. If the profound journey to finding oneself were as simple as merely making a conscious decision, then everyone would already be living in complete, blissful alignment with their true nature. However, as we have seen, the process is far more intricate and layered than a mere choice. It is not just about consciously deciding who we aspire to be. It involves courageously uncovering the deep-seated forces that have shaped us bravely, confronting the often uncomfortable parts of ourselves that we have adamantly rejected, and then, most importantly, integrating them into a unified whole and authentically realized identity. But consider this compelling question: why are we inexplicably drawn to certain behaviors, specific desires, or even particular fears? Why do we, despite our conscious efforts, repeatedly make the same mistakes or fall into the same predictable patterns even when we are desperately trying to change? Carl Jung's revolutionary answer to this enigma was groundbreaking. He posited that within every human being, there exist universal patterns deeply rooted, primordial psychological blueprints that subtly yet profoundly influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors in ways we often do not fully comprehend. He famously referred to these powerful, intrinsic patterns as archetypes. Jung argued passionately that archetypes are not just fleeting concepts, they are ancient, collective images carefully stored in what he called the collective unconscious, a profound, transpersonal level of the psyche shared by all human beings, inherited not from personal experience, but from the cumulative experiences and wisdom of our distant ancestors. He believed these archetypes fundamentally shape our identity, deeply influence our relationships, and even subtly mold how we perceive and interpret the world around us. Consider, for example, the timeless stories that have been woven throughout human history across all cultures. The epic journey of the hero, the wise and benevolent mentor, the shadowy and formidable villain, and the innocent and vulnerable child. These archetypal characters consistently appear in ancient myths, sacred religions, classic literature, and even in the intricate narratives of our dreams. They are not merely fictional constructs. They embody profound psychological forces that universally exist within each of us. Whether we consciously recognize it or not, these powerful archetypes continuously influence the complex unfolding of our lives. For example, consider the potent hero archetype. This is an intrinsic part of you that yearns for purpose and feels an undeniable call to something greater than mundane existence. It represents the courageous aspect of you that instinctively seeks to overcome formidable obstacles, grow stronger through adversity, and ultimately achieve a higher, more evolved version of yourself. However, it is crucial to understand that this powerful archetype never exists in isolation. It is always inextricably accompanied by its necessary counterpart, the shadow. The shadow, as we thoroughly discussed earlier, represents the repressed, denied, and hidden aspects of the self. It is the intricate part of you that includes your fears, perceived weaknesses, and, ironically, even your untapped, unacknowledged potential. In the rich tapestry of myths and legends, the hero must inevitably confront the shadow, often symbolically depicted as a fearsome monster, enemy, or great challenge, before they can truly evolve and complete their journey. Now, let's apply this. Profound concept to the immediacy of real life. Have you ever experienced a moment when you knew, with absolute certainty, that you needed to make a significant change in your life, yet something deep inside you stubbornly resisted that change? A time when you had the opportunity to step into a greater version of yourself, but fear, doubt, or self-sabotage held you back. This is precisely the ancient internal battle between the compelling hero and the resisting shadow, playing out dynamically. Within your psyche, the fundamental mistake most people make is attempting to suppress the shadow by pushing it away, rather than pausing to genuinely understand its underlying message and purpose. But Jung firmly believed that true, lasting transformation only occurs when we courageously integrate the shadow, not by rejecting it outright, but by learning from its profound lessons and reclaiming its disowned energy. Let's say, for instance, you persistently struggle with paralyzing self-doubt. Instead of instinctively ignoring it or frantically pretending it doesn't exist, Jung would compellingly encourage you to ask, where does this pervasive self-doubt truly originate? Is it genuinely yours, or was it insidiously planted in you? By past experiences, by rigid societal expectations, or by the critical voices of others? What vital lessons does this self-doubt potentially hold for me? Could it be that within this very doubt there is a hidden strength, perhaps humility, deep introspection, or the invaluable ability to perceive situations from multiple, nuanced perspectives? When we begin to view our struggles not as inherent weaknesses to be eradicated, but as vital messages from the unconscious, guiding us toward greater wholeness, everything fundamentally changes. But archetypes extend far beyond just the hero and the shadow. Countless other powerful forces and universal patterns reside within us, each playing a unique and essential role in shaping our identity. One of the most compelling and insightful archetypes is the anima and animus. Jung postulated that within every man there exists a hidden intrinsic feminine side, which he termed the anima. Conversely, within every woman there resides a hidden, intrinsic masculine side, which he called the animus. It is crucial to understand that these archetypes are not about biological gender in a physical sense, but rather about the dynamic balance of energies, qualities, and traits within our psyche. The anima represents intuition, emotion, creativity, and a deep connection with the unconscious. The animus, conversely, embodies logic, structure, discipline, and assertiveness. When these two profound forces, the anima and animus, are in harmonious balance within an individual, that person feels whole. However, when they are out of balance, with one being repressed or overemphasized, profound inner conflict inevitably arises. For example, a man who vehemently rejects or suppresses his anima may struggle significantly with expressing his emotions, often fearing vulnerability as a debilitating weakness. Conversely, a woman who rejects or diminishes her animus may find it challenging to assert herself, feeling hesitant to take control of her own life. However, when these powerful energies are courageously embraced and consciously integrated, instead of carelessly suppressed, they transform into an immense, inexhaustible source of deep inner strength. This leads us directly to one of the most significant truths Jung ever discovered. To find yourself, to become whole, truly, you must embrace all parts of yourself, the light and the dark, the masculine and the feminine, the known and known, the unknown. Individuation is not about becoming something entirely different. It is about becoming fundamentally whole. Number 7. The deepest illusion, the fluidity of self. However, one final culminating piece remains in this intricate psychological puzzle, one last, profound revelation that inextricably ties everything we've discussed together, is perhaps the most powerful and liberating truth of all. The single greatest obstacle to genuinely finding yourself is not merely fear, insidious self-doubt, or the pervasive conditioning of the external world. It is something far more profound, something subtly hidden in the very fabric of how we perceive reality itself and construct our sense of self. In this final part, we will courageously uncover it. What you are about to hear will fundamentally challenge everything you thought you knew about yourself and may change your life forever. Throughout this expansive journey, we have meticulously explored the hidden forces that subtly, yet powerfully, shape your identity, the various masks you instinctively wear, the persona, the parts of yourself you unconsciously suppress, the shadow, and the ancient, universal archetypes that profoundly influence your thoughts and behaviors. But now, at the peak of our exploration, we must bravely confront the deepest, most pervasive illusion of all, the illusion of a fixed, unchanging self. You see, most people navigate their entire lives under the comfortable yet profoundly limiting assumption that their identity is a static, immutable entity, that they are a single, unchanging self that moves through time, passively shaped by accumulated memories and experiences. But Jung, standing shoulder to shoulder with many of the greatest philosophers and mystics throughout human history, understood something truly radical and liberating. He recognized that the self is not a static, rigidly defined entity. It is, in its profound truth, fluid, ever-changing, and infinitely greater than we have ever been led to believe. What if the very version of you that you currently identify with, the one you cling to so tightly right now, is merely a fragment of something infinitely larger, something utterly boundless? What if the person you think you are is just one fleeting expression of a limitless, evolving consciousness, a consciousness that has been unfolding for centuries, across countless lifetimes, accumulating inherited wisdom and profound experience? Jung delved deeply into this profound idea through his concept of the self with a capital S, not the small, often ego-driven self that desperately clings to labels and fears the unknown, but the actual all-encompassing self. This true self represents the totality of who you are, existing far beyond the confining illusions of your perceived identity. This breathtaking realization is simultaneously both incredibly liberating and undeniably terrifying. It is liberating because it means that everything you have painstakingly believed yourself to be, all the ingrained fears, the perceived limitations, the limiting stories you repeatedly tell yourself, is not the whole, unvarnished truth. These are merely constructs, temporary frameworks built by the mind. Perhaps here lies the most potent and transformative truth of all. You are not simply a single, isolated being moving through a solitary life. You are, in essence, a vast, interconnected field of consciousness, carrying within you the profound wisdom of generations, the unfathomable depth of the unconscious, and a boundless potential for transformation that transcends all imagination. But if this is the fundamental truth, then why do we often feel limited? Why do we perpetually experience suffering, persistent doubt, and crippling fear? The answer lies in the ego. The ego, it must be understood, is not an adversary or an enemy to be vanquished. It is simply that crucial part of the mind that creates and maintains a sense of separation, that inner voice that incessantly declares, "This is who I am, and this is who I am not." It builds walls, defines borders, and keeps you tethered to familiar patterns, while the ego undeniably serves a vital purpose in navigating the material world. It is also the greatest obstacle to genuine self-discovery. In profound truth, you are not inherently limited to a single identity. You are, in your most authentic form, a being in constant, dynamic evolution. The moment you release your desperate hold on the rigid idea of who you think you are, you unlock a universe of infinite possibilities. A boundless wellspring of potential. Number 8. The path to wholeness. Embracing the journey, but how? Practically. Do you embark on this monumental task? How do you bravely move beyond the pervasive illusion of a limited self and into the magnificent fullness of your true existence? Jung offered a profound and courageous path, one that requires bravery, deep introspection, and a willingness to let go of everything you thought you knew about yourself. First, and perhaps most challenging, embrace the unknown. Most people instinctively fear the unknown because it represents uncertainty and the unknown. But paradoxically, the unknown is exactly where genuine growth occurs, where the most profound transformation inevitably happens. When you stop resisting the beautiful, often unsettling mysteries within you, and instead courageously lean into them with genuine curiosity and an open heart, you begin to see the world, and indeed, yourself, with entirely new eyes and a fresh perspective. Second, release attachment to labels. You are much more than just your given name. You are infinitely more than your job title, your past experiences, or the superficial constructs of your personality. You are something beyond definition. When you consciously let go of these rigid, limiting identities, you create immense space for something infinitely greater, something far more authentic, to gloriously emerge. Third, listen to the unconscious. Your dreams, those nightly narratives, your deepest instincts, your quiet, profound intuitions are not random. They are vital, guiding messages from the capital self, meticulously steering you toward wholeness and integration. The more attentively you tune in and consciously listen, the more you will start to recognize patterns, synchronicities, and signs that consistently guide you toward your true, authentic path. And finally, surrender to the process. Finding yourself is not a finite destination. It is not a goal you achieve once and then conveniently forget. It is an ongoing, dynamic journey, a continuous unfolding of deeper layers of profound truth. Here is the ultimate, liberating revelation. You were never truly lost to begin with. You have always been here, present and whole. The true self that you have been so diligently seeking and desperately yearning for has been patiently within you all along, simply waiting to be remembered and consciously remembered into your awareness. So now, the profound choice is undeniably yours. Will you continue to live as a mere fragment of who you truly are, forever bound by the old fears and limiting illusions that have held you captive? Or will you courageously step forward with unwavering resolve into the vast, beautiful unknown, embracing the limitless, magnificent being that you were always destined to become? Life does not truly begin until you find yourself. And now, illuminated by these profound insights, you genuinely know the way.